Hello, America. Your average American here. Today we're going to discuss forceful reopenings of schools and why we just shouldn't allow it. First of all, I would like to point out that the press secretary keeps stating that their number one priority, this administration's number one priority, is the safety of children. She's touting that there's a bunch of homeless children that without access to public schools, they will have no safety, they will have no care, they will have nothing. Got me to thinking, how many homeless children? We heard about the 100,000 in New York, blew my mind. Why don't they teach that in school? The answer is 1 in 30 children are homeless in America. That's 2.5 million children that the Republicans claim that they want to save. Totally anti-abortion. You can't kill a child, even if it's not born yet. But apparently they can turn a blind eye to 2.5 million homeless children. Now we know that's 2.5 million homeless families, but all they care about is the children, the innocence of a child. So I ask you, government, what have you done in the last how many years it took us to get from 6th in the world to 27th in the world in education to protect these homeless children? These same homeless children you want to use as a political pawn to force everyday Americans, working class Americans, the ones that can't afford private school, the ones that go to work every fucking day. What gives you the right to risk their children's life? You're claiming it so that their parents can go back to work. So the parents can go back to work, so the people can keep spreading the disease, so the kids can go to school, so they can keep spreading the disease, so that we can come home and... What? Didn't you get impeached for this once, Mr. President? Didn't we decide that you have no control over what Congress has funded once they have funded it? Haven't we determined that that was warranting you to be removed? 50-something% of us in a poll, multiple polls, said you should be removed. And the Senate, Republican-held Senate, the ones that respect all these children's lives, said he learned his lesson. He'll never do that again. It's not what you think. He's not withholding funds to bully people into doing things that he wants. That's not what he was doing. You're misunderstanding him. What you claimed. So we just impeached him and we didn't remove the fucking incompetent fool. Because how embarrassing, right? That's all it was. America didn't want to embarrass itself by removing a sitting president. Let's talk about the reality of it. Now that same fucking asshole is on national television with 3 other people telling us that if we don't toe the fucking line, if we don't risk our lives, risk the safety of our babies, that he's going to cut funding. He's going to take money from a system already drowning in lack of funds. My whole life, 30 plus years, teachers have always had to buy basic necessities. Even after they send out their pamphlets and American people provide as much as they possibly can afford to. Because capitalism, y'all, and the shit ain't cheap, and although they put a sale sign on it, if you don't pay attention, which I do, they hike the price up. Then they put a sale sign on it. Because capitalism. Because you have to send your children to school, for the most part. At least you used to be able to say that. Now, I don't believe that. Homeschooling is easy. With a computer? Shit. Your child can do it itself. They have online teachers. I don't even know why this is a question. The greatest country in the world with the richest economy. Trump, I tell you what, I'll give you a secret. You want to create jobs? You want to impress the American people, the average American? You want to save these children. Instead of spending $81 million playing golf, go get a blowjob like Clinton. We already know you're a fucking womanizing prick. Go take your mushroom head and go get it off. We don't need you putting $81 million back into your pocket with our taxpayer money, golfing at your fucking resorts, when 2.5 million homeless children are living in uncontrollable circumstances all across this great nation. And no, you can't use those children to put the life of healthy children at risk, because what are these? These are 2.5, dirty, most likely susceptible to sickness, hungry, depressed, homeless children, right? We're going to put all those children back in school systems without changing their circumstances during a pandemic? Did you not learn your lesson when 20,000 cases a day and reopenings turned into 60, 70, 80,000 a day? What do you think if you throw more bodies at this problem it's going to do? This is a disease that spreads faster than we know what to do with. It spreads undetected. I watched a video this morning of a 4-year-old almost dying of COVID-19. You're not going to convince me that it doesn't get children. A 4-year-old, the son of a doctor, almost died. Their mother said that they stayed in their house. They did everything right. They social distanced. Even with all that, their son almost died. You want me to risk anybody else's babies? Why? Give me one good reason why. I swear to fucking God, if you talk about the stock market again, $3 million, man, that's what's over your head, Mr. President. That's the dumbest thing. You want to talk about enriching the 1% over and over and over, while the rest of us are hungry, can't afford a decent vehicle to get us to and from. Once a major bill pops up, we lose. You don't want to talk about right now everyone losing their homes because of the pandemic. You don't want to talk about, you disbanded, apparently. I haven't seen a single. You had a rally at the White House, which was, what? Why are you going to talk shit about your running mate at the White House? You're supposed to be dealing with a pandemic. Not trying to risk the safety of our children so that your billionaire class buddies can keep their profits up. While we're dying in the streets, 140 deep, 140,000 deep, and counting. You talk shit on Fauci, that won't work because he's a professional that's held a job for more than 40 years, not 3. You want to talk about experience? I just watched you have an interview where you talked about how experience. They asked you a very simple question. Mr. President, what are you going to do for the American people your second term? And you're like, I believe in experience. All of a sudden. Dr. Fauci has 40 fucking years on you, you piece of shit. He helped out during the AIDS crisis. What did you do during that time? Get your fucking dick wet? Cheating on all your spouses? Having children after children? So you can abuse them? Why? No one in your family looks loved, by the way, piece of shit. You don't need to be making decisions for people that actually care about their kids. Parents like me that's lost children just to have one. Lost 5 babies just to have one. And you're telling me that I need to risk its life now? That the government has the right to force and bully me or any one of my neighbors into putting their child in health risk? Don't we have agencies that enforce laws like child endangerment laws? Can I willingly expose my child to AIDS, syphilis, polio? No, if I don't get my kid inoculated, I can't even put it into public school. Did you forget that? You've already decreed that if your child can expose other children to a disease that can kill, that you're not allowed to legally do so. You can't send your children to school. And yeah, you're protected because of your religion and stuff like that. Cool. You are free. You have freedoms. But you never have the freedom to risk the life and safety of another American, let alone an American child. Look it up, 4-year-old son of a doctor. Almost died of COVID. They did everything right. They wore masks. They social distanced. Still almost killed him. He'll never be the same. She's a doctor, but that's a lot of bills she's going to have to pay. All those student loans she still haven't paid off. Becoming a doctor, now she's got to deal with the mortgage and all the daily necessities and all these medical bills you said Americans didn't have to fucking deal with. You said that it would be taken care of. It's a disgrace to put a child's life in danger. It's a disgrace to ask free Americans to risk their life for money. In the greatest country in the world, you think it's okay to force someone to risk their life just to survive? We make a new billionaire. The average American makes a new billionaire or 10 every year. The 1% get richer, and the rest of us get sicker and die younger. Why? You're getting rich off of 2.5 million children's backs. That's not the greatest country in the world. That's not the best economy. That's 2.5 million kids born into poverty, staying in poverty, given no chance, no help to advance their lives. How many of those 2.5 million kids could be the next fucking Einstein? The next Steve Jobs? The next Bill Gates? Real human beings that change the world for the better and continue to try to do so. So I reject this notion that the US government and the president can stand up on the TV and threaten Americans' lives. No, you can't, Mr. President. You were impeached once for doing this. This is treason. You want to risk my life, my child's life? That's treason. Read the Constitution. Read your job title. For the people, by the people, you piece of shit. So now, parents, since we've concluded, and we all know what he is doing is wrong, it doesn't change that it's a hard decision, people. But your grandparents, your great-grandparents, however old you are, your parents, they survived the Great Depression. Same people in New York City, I read stories about eating rats, standing in soup lines, starving to death, why the rich decided to build dams and employ a few people, why they waged a war on drugs. 2.5 million kids a year, and counting, it goes up. This is what it is this year. Are pawns to keep this capitalist-driven, drowning society in check by the 1%, the 1% that has enough money to house all those children. You could buy tiny houses for all those families. You could build a company, a non-profit company, to house all these children and have a tax write-off. Aren't donations still a tax write-off? You're telling me that all these people that are saving billions of dollars in this trickle-down bullshit economy that isn't working can't just fix and uplift? What would you do if all these families didn't have to worry about where their next meal came from? What would they do instead? All that energy would go where? You try to convince people that if you just help them, that they're gonna be lazy, that they'll do nothing. You call this hope of humanity libtard dreams, and you dismantle and you disfigure the idea of what America should be. Land of the free and the brave, where every man and child is equal, where no woman has to cry herself to sleep because she can't produce enough milk to feed her infant, because she hasn't eaten in 3 days. I hope all the teachers do the right thing. This country was built on unions, and if the cops can hide behind the unions and murdering people in the street for traffic infractions, I beg you, teachers, prove this government what a union power is. Prove to them that not only are you going to demand more funding, but we're not going to stand to be 27th in the world for education and healthcare. Demand that your government changes that. Don't go to fucking work. You can walk across the street and still help your neighbors. You can volunteer your time, your brain, and your knowledge to all these children in America. You can band together, create an app, and employ yourselves just like we do with Uber Eats and all the others. There's nothing stopping you. I promise you, take control. Use the gifts and the technology that we have. And don't you dare think that you have to be manipulated by this sick, twisted, garbage, ignorant piece of bullshit who manipulated his way, bought his way into the seat that he resides under. And Mr. Trump, if you want to call me a liar, you want to say that I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Prove to me that you value 2.5 million lives over your own. Put a fucking roof over their head. Feed them. Because what's the point in educating them if they have nowhere to practice that education? You think when they're homeless, they're worried about their homework? No, they're worried about staying warm. They're worried about their parents being alive, not being raped or beaten or abused. Do something, America. But don't you dare send your children into the fire to get burnt. It's not okay, please. With love in my heart, peace. Do the right thing. Stand up for yourself. And let's not create another billionaire until 2.5 million children are taken care of. Peace and love.